What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, and we are live for the Addicted to Combat cast episode 2. I think I'm going to stick with that name. It sounds kind of catchy, but it's also a very good fight card this week. We're talking this week about UFC San Diego, Dominic Cruz taking on the newcomer at potential passing of the torch at 135 against Marlon Vera. And after doing all the analysis over the past week for this one, I'm actually way more excited than I initially thought I would be. This is one of my favorite main events of the entire year. Just seeing Dominic Cruz from the come up all the way from the WEC days to, being one of the most dominant champions, probably the best bantamweight we've seen so far in the cage. So we'll see if he still has it at this age against one of the fastest rising prospects. Actually, it's been a slow growth, and we've seen him kind of learn on the job, Marlon Vera, but a potential, kind of maybe a finish inside the distance against Dominic Cruz, who we haven't seen finish that often. And I know one thing for sure. I hope Keith Peterson is refereeing this one just for Dominic Cruz. So my guest this week is a very special one. This is a good friend of mine in the community named LouBetya. He's leading the charge in one of the fastest growing MMA channels called the MMA Engine that he does with 3 other titans of this space. So a guy with a knack for long shot props, a very colorful personality. I'm going to bring on LouBetya. There he is, the man with the crazy long shot props, and sometimes as bold as to parlay long shot props together to build generational wealth for us on Twitter. So what's up, Lou? How you doing?
I see your shirt says death clutch, but that's no match from the elbow, from the top rope for the 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah. What's up, my man? Let's break down this awesome card. It's a little juicy for my betting tastes. I do like finding me some plus money, but I do feel good about some spots here. There's 2 props that I had last week of fights that got canceled, so I have no reason not to roll them back over into this week. So the work's already done there.
Now, for you, did your bets, I don't know what books you use, but did they keep some of the bets from those bouts? We got Priscilla Cachoeira and Lipski that got moved to this card, and we've got Jason Witt versus Josh Quinlan got moved to this one.
No, they got canceled, but but that's fine. But I ended up giving up 4 props last week, and 2 of them got canceled. So I hit 50% of the props I gave out since one of the 2 hit. Was Spivak round 2.
There we go. Yeah, see, mine was weird because I had Cachoeira, the long shot prop was the round 3 knockout, and I had that on one bookie that kept it for this week, and I had one that got canceled. I just had her by knockout. It's quarter unit play, so I guess we're spoiling the first fighter, but that was it. I got better odds in it this time. I'm going to play it again with the Lipski weight miss.
Yeah.
So.
Well, one thing we're going to get into here is we have 3 fights on this card that have been rebooked, and as a gambler, I tend to hate them because they have that week. They know like a week's worth of action. So like when we get to the Cachoeira fight, especially, there's a bet that I felt very good about, and now I'm not getting the same advantage on this number, and I'm probably still going to play it, but I don't love it anymore like I did. So.
Yeah, interesting. Same with the the Quinlan fight and the Witt fight as well. But we might as well just start with the ones that got rebooked. We'll go through these from the bottom to the top. We'll start with Ariane Lipski taking on Priscilla Cachoeira. And oddly enough, now that this is the rebooked one, Lipski missed weight and was not medically cleared to fight last week, so it got scrapped day of. But now it's up a weight class at 135 when it was a flyweight fight last week. So Lipski's still even a bigger favorite this time around. If I can double check the odds here, I think she's close to minus 200, minus 195, and at plus 165 on Priscilla Cachoeira. I like the size of Priscilla Cachoeira, and now especially at bantamweight as well. She won't be cutting down again for this one. 28 years old for Lipski, 33 for Cachoeira. Youth in the favor of Lipski. The experience probably in better wins in the favor of the former KSW champion in Lipski. But Cachoeira, I just like her forward pressure and aggression, and she's not afraid to eat every strike that comes her way and keep walking forward. So size, aggression, durability in some cases. She ate, almost 200 total strikes from Ji-Hyun Kim last time and kept moving forward. So I'm taking the dog here in Cachoeira, and I do have those 2 quarter unit sprinkles on her KO, which is now at plus 625 versus last week it was plus 575, plus 2,000 in round 3. What do you got here?
So I'm glad we're starting with this. And by the way, now you said it was at 135. I see that it now is, but earlier in the week it was listed at plus 1 at 130. They were going to do a catch weight, and it looks like now they've just said screw it, let's just not cut weight at all this week.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. The bet I love the most was fight doesn't go the distance, because even though Cachoeira has never been knocked out, at some point the damage is going to accumulate, and Lipski hits hard enough to get her out of there. Also, she's been submitted a bunch of times. She looks terrible on the ground. Lipski has been finished before, and Cachoeira can hit her hard enough. So I liked Fight Doesn't Go. It was plus 145, plus 155 at one of my books. Now it is plus 115, that range. And so I kind of don't like that it's plus 110 on DraftKings. I don't like that I didn't get a good number on this bet, but I still like it more than I like playing aside. I see your point with Cachoeira. I'll make an argument for Lipski that's a horrible argument, but it has to be said because it leads to a prop that I like. We haven't seen Lipski really go for takedowns in the UFC. We have seen her do it on the regionals. If she decides to take the fight to the mat, I don't know how Cachoeira gets up. She's terrible on the ground. Lipski's got some and the Lipski submission is sitting there. It's now listed at even that one. Like, you got better odds for the Cachoeira KO. The Lipski submission is plus 450 right now. It's plus 550 on some books. I had it at plus 600 last week. So even that's come down a little bit. That makes me a little leery. But the one thing that leads me to think it's still possible is that we've seen Cachoeira when she's been hurt. She goes for these takedowns really just to get out of trouble more than she's trying to get the fight to the ground. It's worse to get separation. If she ducks her head down on one of these after she's been rocked, next there, Lipski could submit her. But I don't have the confidence that Lipski will execute any kind of ground-based game plan. I don't. If I had any inkling that she would, I'd take her by submission. For me, I like Fight Doesn't Go the distance. If this thing stays standing for 15 minutes, you're better off with the dog. If you tell me this is just going to be a boxing match, I take my chances with Cachoeira. I think they're both going to land big shots, but I think Cachoeira, like, you're onto something with this round 3 prop. I think that she doesn't really show fatigue.
No, not really. Like, she just keeps moving, and she doesn't like mentally break either. You know what I mean? Like, she'll get hit with every single, like, obviously Lipski is the much more polished fighter, like, you know, in every aspect of MMA. But you know, now that I did notice though in the G and Kim fight for Priscilla Cachoeira that she looked a little bit better with the stand up. It was a little bit more technical because she wasn't like panicking about maybe getting taken down.
Her power carries too, and her power carries late in the fight. Like, that's another thing. Like, I don't know that Lipski's does. I know Cachoeira's does.
Right.
So,
yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of, you know, really big adversity for Ariane Lipski as far as like getting, you know, hit in the face clean from a standing position. Obviously, when it gets taken to the ground, that she can get ground and pounded out. She's lost by TKO in 2 of her last 3 fights. So, yeah, I like the Cachoeira side here, and I like that it got rebooked after a weight miss for Lipski, and, you know, we get even better odds on the Cachoeira side, but yeah, I don't know. It might just be a stay away if you're sometimes, and we'll talk about this with the next fight too, the Jason Witt, Josh Quinlan one. We'll just move on to that one next. This is a 170 bout. Jason Witt, obviously, you know, the seasoned veteran here and a better wrestler, 2-3 in the UFC versus Josh Quinlan, who is now coming off of the PED suspension and fresh off first round knockout in the Contender Series. Do I care about the PED suspension? Absolutely not. Everybody, if you're going to tell me that you don't think Jason Witt is using performance enhancing drugs, then you just don't really know about elite, you know, athletics at all. I mean, he just didn't get caught. You know, you've got a noob like Josh Quinlan who can't do his math correctly here, but he's a bigger guy. He fights like Vanderlei Silva does Josh Quinlan, 6 foot tall, 72-inch reach. It's just a classic striker versus grappler. Can Jason Witt replicate his success in round 1 against Philip Rowe he had last year, where he could take him down, nullify him, and then repeat that, rinse and repeat over 3 rounds is the question here. And we're looking at an even bigger favorite price for Josh Quinlan, of course, when these things get rebooked. It's just how it goes. So what are we looking at? Like minus 250 for Josh Quinlan here. I'm taking his knockout prop. I had plus 100 on that last week, but now I'm starting to get a little bit superstitious with this getting rebooked, because now I got like minus 112 or something on the knockout prop for Josh Quinlan. I'm thinking maybe the MMA gods, the gambling gods out there saved me and said, look, you didn't want your unit play on this one. We'll give it back to you. But I am on the Josh Quinlan round 1 knockouts. I think is a very likely path here, but I wouldn't hate anybody taking that Jason Witt by decision either. So what do you think about this one?
So I take performance enhancing drugs, but solely for the side effects.
Oh yeah, we might as well shout out the chat real quick. Victor De Jesus, always rocking with us. One of the best guys in the community. Same as Sicky Does MMA. You got to go check out Sicky Does MMA's channel. He's got really good YouTube shorts, compilations, good moments.
He does really good work.
Yeah, and he started doing full card breakdowns of some of the pay-per-views as well. So go subscribe to him. Papa Chuck, Patrick, what's it like to be the most ripped MMA podcaster on YouTube? Lou, no offense, have you in second place. Hey, nothing wrong with silver, Lou, but it feels pretty damn good, Papa Chuck. Feels good to be king. Anyways,
but anyway, back to steroids. I like that Quinlan did them. What I don't like is that he's no longer doing them. But as far as your number for the KO prop, one of my other props last week was round 2 KO for Quinlan. I think this plays out exactly like the Phil Rowe fight. I think he has success in the first round. Quinlan has a very good get-up game, although this is against, I can't believe it, I have to say this, these are against lesser competition than Jason Witt. It's not on the UFC level. However, the fundamentals of having a good get-up game are there for Quinlan. So could I see him having a first round where Witt controls him? Yes. Can I see Quinlan bonking him 10 seconds in the second round? Yes. As far as your KO prop with -110, I was on it last week. I'm on it again this week. To me, it's his money line because I don't know how he wins a decision. If it's gone a decision, it means he got grapple fucked for 15 minutes. So I don't know how Quinlan wins decision here unless Witt can just absorb an amazing amount of punishment, or if Quinlan just for some weird reason has developed this incredible top game and yet isn't going for a KO. I can't see that either. So to me, if you like the Quinlan side, you like the KO because that's his path to victory. Look, I made money on Witt against Barberena because I thought Barberena was shot. I still think Barberena's kind of a shot fighter that can't defend takedowns and can't get up. Quinlan's young and he can get up. So even if the first round's over, I don't see him coming out with bad choreo. There will be a time to fade Quinlan because I'm not super impressed with him, but this is not the guy to fade him. So give me the
What
Quinlan
are you not
KO.
impressed with from Quinlan? What doesn't impress you? I like his style. He looks just like he trains at a Van fight team, which I found out after I saw him. I'm like, is this guy running like a Vanderlei Silva emulator or something? He fights just like him. The big high guard, very good boxing. Like you said, a good get-up game. And, I've seen him actually prove pretty good durability on the regional scene as well. What are you
that's my problem is that you look at some of these fights that he's won like late. He has a couple of round 3 finishes. And he's dropping rounds to guys that he has no business dropping rounds to.
Fair enough.
And what I'm saying is, at the UFC level, that costs you so bad because, like, we're talking about the fact that I think Witt can win a round here. Well, how many better guys are there than Witt that can get top control for a round? That Quinlan, maybe his get-up game won't work, and he will keep dropping rounds. So I don't like the idea of him taking rounds off. I do like the durability and the fact that he's so live late in a fight. I like that about him, that he's going to be like a kill or be killed guy and he'll go out on his shield late. I just do not like the idea of there's times in some of his tape is, even on the amateurs, like he's taking his time. Like I know he has a bunch of round ones, but like it was his last fight against Surek Shields. I don't know if you saw that or not, but like
it was a couple weeks ago, but yeah,
I
watched all of them.
But he took like 3-4 minutes to even like really get going. So what I'm saying is, could Quinlan come out here and starch Witt in 10 seconds and give Witt his third sub-minute loss? I think so. But I can't trust him to get it going early. And, look, it's going to be his debut and he's coming off. He's got to feel embarrassed, for the suspension. So it might take a little bit to ease in. If he can work on that hole in his game of not starting out so slow, I get that Vera is a slow starter. We'll get to him later. But Quinlan's not fighting 5-round fights. He's fighting 3-round fights, and he can't afford to like keep dropping rounds because eventually, when he gets to that like the top 15, like and right underneath it, these are guys that can win those fights and know how to win minutes. And I don't know that Quinlan can prove that he's a minute winner at this level. That's what I don't like. But he's young.
Yeah, as a fan, it's one of those things where seeing the prospect in Quinlan, I almost want to see him get taken down in round 1, just as a fan, not as a bettor, but as a fan, just to see if he can get back up, see how long it takes him, does he get held there, and things like that. So, are you saying I should play that? I should replace that knockout prop, or I should replace it? Right.
I mean, well, tell me how he wins a decision. Like,
no, he would have to really hurt Jason Witt, and the ref is just like letting him be on ice skates and not stop.
He would have to have Herb Dean letting Witt absorb 7,000 shots, which I guess that's possible.
No, Herb Dean's a pussy. He would stop it instantly.
Well,
Jason Witt gets an eyelash stuck in his eye, and he's going to stop the fight.
Jason Witt isn't afforded to take
Herb Dean has gotten really soft in his old age. I don't know if they had a talking to him or what, but
if
you watch older fights, you watch fights from back from I don't know 05 to 2010. Herb Dean would let things go, man. I think the fight that is the record for most knockdowns, it was like a 10-7 round. It was Herb Dean letting it go. So.
It was, just side note, like Gordo went to the Cleveland show or the Akron when they were there a couple months ago, and he's got a picture with Herb Dean. And when I'm watching it on TV, every time Herb came out, it sounds like they're like, yeah, like they're cheering Herb more than anybody. And I'm talking to Gordo like a couple days later. He goes, dude, all they were doing was booing the shit out of him. And I'm like, didn't sound like that on TV. It really sounded like they were cheering for him. Like, right. So, but yeah, Quinlan KO, and that's all I got to say.
Right. Maybe I'll replace it then. I was a little bit superstitious that it got moved, and I'm losing $12, from plus 12, plus 100 to minus 112.
$12 is nothing to me. I make that in a week. It's nothing to me.
I just don't like I don't like it when it's like, man, I had a even money play. Now I got to pay for it. But anyways, moving on to fresh matchup here. Finally, those are two repeats we already went over for weeks now. But Yusuf Zalal taking on Blackshear. Blackshear stepping in on short notice now, making his debut. He probably should have known this was going to come his way because he is the CFFC bantamweight champion. He won the title and then got one defense. He looks pretty good. 27 years old, 5'10", 72.5-inch reach at bantamweight. Very big frame. Yusuf Zalal, this will be his first fight at the weight class now, coming back after over a year-long layoff. Yusuf Zalal, he had a very good entry to the UFC with 3 wins straight, now 3 losses straight. So, good competition still, but, the guy's really at the end of the rope here. So, Blackshear, 12-4, 7-1 amateur record. So he's well-versed, looks very athletic. He's got power on the feet, not a lot of finishes, but 8 submissions to back up his finishing record there. He's fought in some pretty good promotions, including the CFFC, but CES, I think a Bellator appearance as well. He looks like he's very crafty when he's in the driver's seat as far as the wrestling and the grappling goes, but he can be taken down and controlled as well. So I see some improvements from him fight to fight, but I'm not sure if he's at the UFC level quite yet. Yusuf Zalal, however, 25 years old, so he's even younger still, 5'10", 75-inch reach, a slight reach advantage, 5 subs as well for Yusuf Zalal. And, he's doing a desperation move now, trying to be the big man at 135 coming down from featherweight. So he's got the UFC experience, he's got the size and reach, and he's been fighting bigger and better competition. So I'll let you start this one off. What do you think here?
It's a pretty crazy fight when you look at who these guys have fought in their careers for this to be like the first fight of the night. I mean, Zalal's losing to killers. He lost to Poirier. Sung Woo Choi is no joke. And the Woodson fight, I thought he might have won that fight, but and then Blackshear's lost to Sabatini and Sabatello. So, like, Sabatello is like an insanely good wrestler. Not like a huge fan of his style, but I know his talent. Sabatini is another amazing grappler. So, I don't know what to do with this one yet. My initial lean was Blackshear, but I'm going to have to really wait and see until the weigh-ins. I need to see how Zalal looks. I don't really have, my inclination is this fight goes the distance, but it's so juiced that it's not worth it. I think it's minus 200 for that. I don't see a finish either way here. Zalal has pretty good durability. Blackshear could backpack him for 2 rounds. I really believe it. I mean, Blackshear is fighting at a weight class that he's used to this. Zalal isn't. The thing is I know Zalal has, he has the height. He's going to have the size, but he's low volume and he doesn't really use his size that effectively. Like, he's not throwing a lot of jabs, keeping a guy away from him. He wants to wrestle. I don't think his frame is suited for the strategy that he employs. Whereas I think Blackshear is like a tank and knows how to use his frame well. So I'm leaning Blackshear. I want it again, but I don't know that I'm going to get there. I need to see what Zalal looks like on the scale. I see Pop has got Zalal. I don't hate the play because I feel like this might be a trap. Like, part of me feels like I'm being baited into a trap to bet Blackshear here. But again, if you look at his record and the guys he's fought, this isn't like some dude. He's not taking a leap up in this fight to fight Zalal. Like, he's not, and Zalal's not taking a leap up either. That's what makes this like a really interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
First fight of the night. It's a pretty high level. I think it's a surprisingly high level fight. Whoever gets the grappling going, we'll see. I don't know what Zalal's cardio is going to look like either. So really it comes down to if I have to trust somebody to be able to do the backpacking and the wrestling later in the fight, I lean Blackshear, but no bet for me at the moment.
Okay, interesting. I took a money line shot on Yusuf Zalal at that minus 110 price tag. I just thought it was a steal on the guy with, used to fighting bigger guys, a guy that I can count on to at least go for the wrestling at all points of the fight. Yusuf Zalal not always successful against some of these guys he's fought. But yeah, I like Papa Chuck's Zalal via decision all day. I think he does win it by decision. That would be the prop I would give out for that one. I mean, you're talking about a guy who does have 5 submission wins in Zalal, but at the UFC level, all decisions, both losing and winning. And if you're not finishing, Jordan Griffin, Pete Barrett, I don't know if you're going to finish a slippery guy like, I know Pete Barrett is slippery Pete, but Damon Blackshear is very slippery as well. Do you see that epic back take he had off of, that highlight reel he got in one of his last fights? Amazing. And he's never been finished either. So I think this spells going to decision for whoever you take here, but I'm always on the side of UFC experience for the most part. And I don't think Zalal's going to slow down as far as going for wrestling. He might get trapped, like you said, in backpack, but I think
there is a big price difference in the decision props, though. That's something to consider. It's 140 versus 240. So, like I said, I think on paper it's Blackshear for me, but that's why I haven't gotten there yet. I'm like 51.49 on this one. I mean, I'm kind of confused by. I just feel like I'm walking into a trap, so I may lay off this completely.
You probably are. I mean, Damon Blackshear seems like, just like you mentioned, he seems like he's ready for this level. I'm not sure of it yet just because he's looked really bad in some fights against lower level competition and really good in other ones. So I think there is a little bit of improvement, but we'll see how he is on short notice. That's another big thing for me here was the short notice side of things. I think that goes against him in a big way. But yeah, what's up, Johnny K Picks? Everybody go follow Johnny K Picks. Really sharp guy. Puts out really early and concise breakdowns on these fights. And he just did a stream with Blood Money Bets earlier tonight. I got to hop in on. So good information over there. So what's your potential prop for this one then? If you're taking Blackshear, you just like the fight goes, but it's just kind of
if I take him, I would take him by decision. But it's like I said, I want to see what Zalal looks like. If Zalal looks good on Friday, I could lean with him. If he looks bad, like that's how razor thin this is for me, because they're so similarly stylistic. If Zalal looks emaciated, which is a very good possibility, we haven't seen him make this cut. If he looks crappy in a fight that is going 15 minutes, 95 times out of 100, then I might hop on Blackshear here. If he looks good, I think there's a sense of desperation with Zalal, and I understand it. But and I see people playing the Zalal decision, and I understand that. But in all fairness, the price between the Zalal and Zalal decision, it's -125.
That was a big thing for me. If I'm not getting a big discount on it, like a big jump up in price, I'll just take the money line.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. I really don't know what to do. When I do my show Friday, I'm sure I'll have degened something on this.
Well, sometimes and I'm on this too, I'm getting better at this as a gambler, but when I have to think about it for way too long and I have 10 pages of notes on both guys, I'm just like, let me just pass on this one.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So moving on to even smaller weight class here, flyweight between Osborne, Jamaican sensation, and the returning Tyson Nam, who I've seen fight for a long, long time. This guy's been around the block for many years now, and he's 38 years old, this Tyson Nam, at 5'7", 68-inch reach. And a 20-12 record here, 12 knockouts and a negative decision record. Osborne, same height, 5'7", with a 73-inch reach. This guy's got a super long reach for his height, and he's only 30 years old here, 11-4-1, 5 knockouts, 4 subs. Both of these guys in the UFC share a couple opponents that they disposed of very early on. That's Jerome Vera and who else was it? Zaruk Adeshev. So they both have the knockout power at 125. I think Tyson Nam relies on that way too much at this point. And at 38 years old, we're going to talk about the main event where we've got a 37-year-old bantamweight in Dominic Cruz. Even more sketchy than that is to be 38 years old at flyweight. So I actually do have a money line bet on Osborne. I did pay his money line price. I believe it was -225 at the time I got that. He's like a -240 now and climbing, +200 thereabout for Tyson Nam. It just goes down to, like I mentioned, the fact that Tyson Nam really, to me, always has looked like he's pretty much in a boxing match inside of an MMA cage. The guy is just headhunting, super low volume on the statistics over time. And if he can't dispose of you, he really doesn't have any more tricks up his sleeve. So I can't rely on a puncher's chance at flyweight of all weight classes. So I'm taking Osborne here. I think he is kind of reaching his stride here in the UFC. He faced some tough opposition. Got finished by Manel Kape. That's going to happen. Manel Kape is a top guy. After that, he's looked pretty good. What do you think about this one? Are you taking Osborne, or do you see a dog shot on Tyson Nam here?
No, and you broke it down pretty perfectly. I can't really add much more to it, except you look at the times that he's faced adversity. O'Day against Vergara, faced adversity in the third round. But look at the style Vergara fights. Vergara is just a dog, going for the ground game, like crowding you, like getting in your face. You talk about how Nam, there's a lot of problems with that. By the way, nothing wrong with being 38, motherfuckers. Nothing wrong with being in your late 30s. I killed being my late 30s at this point. Nam's too low volume. You talked about he's a 38-year-old guy at 125. I'm not sure why he's even taking this fight. This is just a setup fight for O'Day. Not like Bo Nickel level, but like it's a setup fight. The question is, how does he win? Because Nam is tough, man. He's super tough. His chin has just held up over the test of time. Even his wins, he's getting hit. The guy has never gotten through a fight like unscathed. So I don't think O'Day gets a KO. And the last time O'Day Osborne fought, I was one of those idiots that was like, thought he was going to be sneaky and took the submission prop, and then fight didn't last long enough for it to get to a submission. So I think Osborne can cruise on the feet. I think he's going to throw more volume. I don't think he's going to knock Nam out. Maybe the sub's live, but O'Day Osborne decision is sitting at plus 230. And I'll give Nam the respect that he can just make it a fight. We haven't seen O'Day go to the wrestling enough for me to trust that the sub's really going to be an option. It's not like Nam gets subbed. So
right.
I think O'Day beats him up for 2 rounds, and maybe his cardio kind of wanes a little bit, but Nam won't be able to do anything about it by the third. So give me O'Day Osborne to win a very clear decision at plus 215 odds.
Yeah, that was the prop that I had on that too, was the decision there. I think Tyson Nam hasn't been finished in a long time. I think since like Magic Marlon Moraes, I think like years ago was the last one to actually finish.
And that's a guy that there's no shame in that.
No, absolutely not. That guy, that was like his the trick up his sleeve at all times, was that power early on.
2013.
So. Okay, yeah. So wasn't that like World Series of Fighting or something, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Arlovsky was on that card. He was only 42, I think, when they did that card.
It's been a while. Yeah. And then if you see Sicky bringing up the Tyson Nam striking defense, yeah, he's usually pretty sound. He keeps a nice high boxing guard, as I mentioned, and Johnny K. Picks is on your side here. Hey, he makes a good point too, man. Thanks for stopping by, you guys, in the second edition of this stream. I was shocked and really appreciative of all the support last time on a first stream ever. We had a lot of live viewers, so thanks for all 15 of you guys for hanging out with us here tonight. And keeping on with this time slot, next week I think we'll be at 9:30 Eastern time, but I got some guests lined up for that as well. And then the week after we have a week off, but then I have guests coming on the following week.
You have guests after me?
So we're booking more people, man. We're slowly filling up this time slot.
Who's following me? Who's got the depth slot of following me?
You follow Combat Addict 1 on the Twitter, Lou, and you'll figure that out very soon.
Okay. I might unfollow you for not telling me.
All right, let's move on to the next one, which is kind of a goofy fight. Probably the most outrageous money line on this card. I think we're going in order here. This is Charlie Ontiveros taking on Gabriel Benitez. Benitez is what, a minus 400? Is that held solid? Minus 400 favorite?
I see minus 350s and
minus 350. I saw minus 400 on one book. I think it might have been like one of those crazy offshores. But yeah, okay, I'm looking on best fight odds. Yeah, so minus 350, minus 375. Charlie Ontiveros closing in on that plus 280, plus 300 price range. Charlie Ontiveros, the story of this guy is not a very good like underdog quality in him. He's a very big guy for the weight class. Obviously made his debut against Kevin Holland and ended up having to verbally tap out due to like a neck injury on a slam. He's 6'2", 74-inch reach at 31 years old with an 11-8 record for Charlie Ontiveros. Never quite getting his footing in the UFC. He's got a nice wide karate stance to him, very flashy kicks at range. But when you strip away his early knockout power in the first part of the first round, there's not a whole lot of like fundamental MMA skills behind it. Not a whole lot of like really good up close boxing, not good clinch work, not good takedown defense or offense. So you're looking at the guy who's not very perseverant either in a fight. He quits a lot between rounds on the stool and just looks mentally defeated if he doesn't win in round 1. So Gabriel Benitez, losing 4 of his last 5, but this guy at least has been fighting good competition. He's proven some durability, but he's facing guys like David Onama, Billy Q, Morales, Sadiq Youssef are his last 4 losses. And he's 6-6 out of 12 UFC fights. So the experience for Benitez, at least a proven, fundamental MMA skill. I like Benitez here. There's no way I should be paying minus 350 on a guy that's losing 4 of his last 5. And I think the fight doesn't go in the under 1.5 is super juiced here as well. So I used fight doesn't go to decision as a parlay piece. I got that at minus 375, parlayed with another fight doesn't go later on the card. And that has jumped up. Fight doesn't go to minus 475 on some books as well. So it's moving. Nobody thinks this fight will last. Ontiveros is a quitter. I don't think he wins here. I'm taking Gabriel Benitez inside the distance. Do you believe in the American bad boy, Charlie Ontiveros here, Lou?
If you have to nickname yourself the American bad boy, how bad are you really? Like,
yeah, he's like, can I be the Huntington Beach bad boy like Tito Ortiz? They're like, nah, that's taken already, dude.
Like, is he saying that wearing like an Abercrombie shirt? Like, what the fuck?
Hopefully.
Like, is this American bad boy? All right,
he's got the hair for it.
So let's get this out of the way. This line is crazy. Benitez shouldn't be minus 380 over anybody in the UFC. Right. I don't know that he should be minus 380 over anybody in like the PFL, Invicta, like anywhere. He at this point in his career, he shouldn't be. Now, that being said, Billy Q fought, and I'm Billy Q truther. Billy Q fought the fight of his life against Benitez. He almost won me $100,000 in DraftKings that night. If not for Miesha Tate getting like 7,000 points that night, I had it. Billy Q put up an absolute monster performance. His Onama fight, look, did it end well for him? No. But how much success did he have in the first 3 minutes? And Onama was just tough. He was landing kicks. Every punch got through. Onama's striking defense was not great that night. I thought Benitez looked pretty good. Onama just seems like he's a special kind of talent that can weather the storm and just threw bombs. And eventually, after 3.5 minutes of Benitez landing on him, got through. But I thought if Benitez lands 1 or 2 of those shots in this fight, it's over. Yeah. Ontiveros' chin is like Jason Witt thinks Ontiveros' chin is terrible. That's how bad Ontiveros' chin is. You know, I don't get like the first, and you talk about the Kevin Holland loss. That was a scary injury, man. That was a very terrifying injury there. But you know, he loses to Steve Garcia.
What was so terrifying about that injury? What happened?
Oh, that, you know, because Holland just made it look like his neck, like it looked like his neck was like it could have been very, I know. All right. Well, we can't all have necks like you, dude. You know, like,
you don't look that bad. Come on.
Like, let the plebes like me just believe it was a bad injury. Also, and we know that Kevin Holland lives in Gotham. So basically, when he hurts you,
that's
you
true.
know, it's like, you know, he broke Bane, not Ben Davis, but the comic Bane. So I like Benitez here. I like him by KO at minus 135. I saw Papa Chuck talk about round 1. Yeah, I mean, I'd be shocked. Dude, when have you ever seen minus 200 for a fight that wasn't at heavyweight or involved Jordan Wright? Like, when do you see a number like that? It's incredible.
Insane. Yeah.
But yet, seems pretty safe. I don't know that Ontiveros, and what's Ontiveros' path? If he gets an early takedown and can get something going on the ground, it's not like Benitez is a bum on the ground. Like, he's not. No. Benitez's problem has been dudes just like, in Billy Q's case, 14 minutes of control and punching. And in the case of Onama only won maybe 15, 20 seconds of that fight. Onama wasn't dominating him. He just got through. I don't know that Ontiveros can do that to him. So I know one guy in the community that took Ontiveros. He shall remain nameless. I laughed when I saw the pick. I'm like, I'm going to get it. You're taking a dog. You're betting against somebody. And that's kind of what I hate doing. And I feel like I'm doing it here. But I just don't see how Ontiveros wins. And Benitez could.
It would be like 60 seconds in, right? It would be like an axe kick or like a spinning wheel kick, like 60
it would have
seconds
to be. It would have to be like a random shot. Like, I don't think he's more skilled anywhere. And I don't think he's going to dominate him on the ground. I think it stays standing. I think Benitez gets the leg kicks going. Honestly, he could just land one shot and end it. So give me Benitez KO at minus 135. I will probably take a look at a round 1 prop here, but I don't want to get.
I took the exact same prop as you. Yeah, Benitez inside the distance.
I don't want to get greedy.
135 was a great transformation.
I don't want to get greedy on this turd of a fight. Like,
right.
I don't want to have like when I do my bets. Like, you've seen my spreadsheet, crazy shit that I do.
Yeah.
Like my weird math that I try to keep that to myself, but I don't like having more than 2 bets on a fight if I can avoid it, unless I feel like so strongly about a time prop and a side. I try to just do one bet a fight, no more than, so I don't want to have more than one bet on this fight. Like, I don't want to do Benitez KO and then round one. Like,
I've gotten better at that as I've gotten through the gambling as well. Not because I've had so many things where like a one fight result like crashes and burns like 3 different props or money lines or parlays.
Yeah, you don't want to bonk your whole card like on one, and then because then the next day you're like, oh my god, like if you tell somebody, man, the Benitez Ontiveros fight really screwed me up, they're going to be like, I mean, that's what you get. That's what you get for betting it. Like,
exactly.
Why'd you get so heavy on it? Like.
Yeah, so all I have on that so far is just parlaying. The fight doesn't go with another one on this card. Hey, anyways, shout out the chat. Any Action Effie. What's up, Effie from Any Action Sportscast? Everybody go check out that channel. They do great work there as well. Good streams and good breakdowns there. We got our guy Cody from Blood Money MMA Bets. This guy's closing in on 1,000 subs, so you guys got to go give this man a sub.
And he always posts, and he's another guy with accountability that always posts his tickets. Like, I always see him post his tickets.
Yeah, so, he's old school. Goes to the casino, gets out the ticket, and posts it. And
I love it.
And he gets his breakdowns out super early in the week too. So go follow him.
I gotta get out to my casino. What's the closest casino to you?
I think we're just now getting it legal here in the state.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. So,
and you're trying to tell me your time zone's the real time zone? You don't even have a casino you can go to? You son of a bitch.
I know.
I got Parks, but it's like I'm not too. I'm like half an hour from Parks.
All right, there we go. Yeah. All right, moving on to the next fight here. This is another transplant fight we're going to talk about. Nina Nunes taking on Cynthia Calvillo. Has your opinion on this fight changed? Are you really strong in loading up a max bet on Cynthia Calvillo here, or what do you think about this one?
I remember passing on this the first time, and then I think that was one of the first times I did the Liam show, like the show with Liam and Wizbet.
Oh, yeah.
And Gordo.
This is supposed to be on the Dos Anjos Fiziev card. This goes back a while.
Yeah, and this might have been like the first or second time that we did that show, and Wiz had like a really strong opinion on this fight. He was like big on the Calvillo side, and look, I do my own research, but I've been gambling for 20 plus years, and like I always like to hear people's perspectives. If somebody is like super strong and like can sell me on it, I'm listening. I heard what he had to say, and I still had no interest in betting it. And it has nothing to do with Wiz. It's that I can't. She looked so bad out last time. Yeah. I haven't seen her really show that she can have a dominant top game at 125. And Nina Nunes, like, I don't know, man. How do you back Nunes here? Like, it's dog or pass. I'm just going to pass, like, completely on this fight. Yeah, fight goes to disappointment sounds like a good bet there.
Yeah, right. Again, back before all of these losses, and I think she did break her orbital bone or something from Andrea Lee last time. So that was, I think, the official cause of why she quit in between rounds. But yeah, it doesn't look good. Nina Nunes at least has like flashes of looking okay in some of her fights, but it's not against somebody who has on paper the wrestling of Cynthia Calvillo and the ability to take it there. Sometimes her takedown defense looked pretty good for Nina Nunes. This is dog or pass for me, but mostly a stay away. I was hoping that you would talk me onto a Nina Nunes bet here at plus 145. It swung to that.
It's the only, if you have to play the fight, you play Nunes.
Yeah, so that would be that. And, again, this is one of those bouts where you take the winner by decision and you're not getting a big discount either way. But the problem with this one is I'm not surprised at any result of this fight. If either of these women gets finished inside the distance, I'm not that surprised. If it goes to a sketchy decision, not surprised who wins this fight. So
this could be a fight if you want. This is your, you could do your typical, if your book has it, fight to end in split decision. You're probably not getting an awesome line. I'm actually going to see if Betway has it. Betway and DraftKings are the same.
Okay. Yeah, so it's one of those fights where if I don't have a strong opinion, like where I'm not shocked if a result happens, I don't want to put my money on it because obviously I'm not that confident in the result that I'm betting on. So I'm trying to stay off of this one. I was hoping that you would push me on to a dog shot on Nunes here, but I'll just cross that one off.
All right, here, you want to bet here?
Maybe, yeah.
Nunes to win by split decisions 10-1. It's not bad.
What's
Calvillo's 7-1, but I find that interesting because if Calvillo wins, I think she wins like a 30-27 because she got the wrestling going.
Yeah, right.
If she doesn't, and it's just Nunes defending and landing a couple of shots here and there, I don't know, man.
I kind of think I'm kind of like you. I think
this is why I shouldn't do content because now I'm looking at a 10-1 bet of a fight I know I don't want to get involved in, and I'm like.
But I'm kind of like you were. I think the winner of this fight, especially Calvillo, it'll be a shutout in some way or like a clear 2-1 rounds. It won't be that sketchy, but I don't know. I have a strong opinion on this one. It's a transplant fight. Dog or pass, we're agreeing on dog or pass. Split decision.
There's after what Calvillo looked like, and I know you're talking about the orbital bone. Let's look at the 900 shots she absorbed in the 10 minutes before that. There's zero way you can back Calvillo as a favorite.
It doesn't look like things are turning around.
If she was like a 2-1 dog at 115, she's playable, but not here, not in this spot.
Fair enough. Let's just move on from this one to something more exciting. This is a fight we talked about a month ago. Let's go on to Martin Buday taking on Lukas Brzeski. This is a sloppy heavyweight fight in some ways, although I think Buday has some skill here, and Brzeski's got some potential. Brzeski coming off of a Dana White Contender Series first-round knockout heavyweight bout. They're both 6'4". I think maybe an inch of reach separates them both at like 77, 78-inch reach. So very big boys, and both 30 years old for the European heavyweights here. So Martin Buday has climbed up to quite a big price tag here, like minus 250 or so. Brzeski a little north of plus 200, the underdog. Brzeski is 8-1 and won no contest, which he got in his last fight. The referee thought his opponent tapped, and he did not, but it would have been a Brzeski win, so he's almost 9-1. The rest of the competition, not very good, and Dylan Potter, not the greatest either. But this guy is just so defensively lacking on the feet. It's very hard to bet on him here, and I can see why he is the underdog. He seems to go all out in round one with, his very effective offensive striking, but, he can get hit coming back his way, and it seems like he's going to blow his gas tank early. Whereas Martin Buday, who is 30 pounds heavier, coming in at that top heavyweight limit of 265, he's got a very impressive 10-1 record. And I like his ability to just hold him against the cage here, hold Brzeski against the cage, get the clinch knees, and eventually frame off the face and wear him down here. I'm not really I'm not inclined for Buday inside the distance. I could see him dragging this out to decision if Brzeski's gas tank holds up. But I am on the Buday money line, and I'm very confident in him. So I paid the price, 2.4 units to win one in return. I paid the price on him. What do you think about this one?
So one of the ways I like to bet, I do round robins, when the situations dictate it. And on one book lets me do bankers. So basically anything you list as a banker, if it loses, the whole round robin dies. But it's a good way to kind of get the most for your money. So Buday is one of my 2 bankers this week. I looked into Brzeski a little bit. So Dylan Potter stinks, and he's not a heavyweight. Let's just get that out of the way. So that's like a fraud fight to begin with. He's not doing PEDs anymore. Another quitter who won't do steroids.
Whoa. But wait a second. How can you say he's not doing PEDs anymore?
Well, he's not.
What did he get popped for? I got a bone to pick with a lot of people on YouTube talking out of their ass about these PEDs he got popped for an anti-estrogen drug. I went into this on my breakdown, which proves that they can't test for whatever he's taking. If you're getting popped for an anti-estrogen, it means you were taking a real anabolic that you're coming off of. So they started popping guys for anti-estrogen drugs like clomiphene, what he got popped for, because they're like, well, our drug testing doesn't work. We can't test for the real anabolics. So we'll start testing these other drugs that you use associated with anabolics. So it's a very good shot. He's still taking whatever he's taking because they can't pop him for it.
Look,
so that's my little spiel on that. Because
look, bud. One day you'll get to my level of swollenness. Until you do,
yeah.
Let's not worry about this. All right. Anyway, the point is this: his cardio is crappy. I don't know how skilled he is. I don't think Buday is he's not some world beater, but he knows how to kind of make fights his own. You're talking about getting the Barnett fight was just bizarre. It was low volume, but it was weirdly effective. And I had a Buday ticket there too. I think Buday is going to get a finish here. I think the first round is going to be a lot like the Barnett fight. And I think Buday's second round knockout is a prop I will be giving out tomorrow on my show. Props to consider, and then maybe bet. Typically at 2:00 on the MMA Engine. There's my quick plug for that. I like Buday to eventually get him out of there. And I will say that I think the time to fade him is probably the next fight.
How can you explain the under 2.5 being the price it is? I saw the under 2.5 just tonight at minus 145 for a heavyweight fight at this level. How do you explain that one? And do you think that's a good play? I thought it was
I think it's recency bias because of how ineffective he was against Barnett. I mean, that was a fight. The under 1.5 there was juiced for the Barnett Buday fight. I think it was minus 150, minus 160. I'd have to go through my sheets, but I think they're just assuming it's going to play very similarly. And I don't. I think they have I don't have the stats in front of me. I think it's like 26 out of 29 have finished inside the distance.
Yeah. Right.
So I think Buday gets it done, and I think Brzeski has nothing past the first round. I don't think he has good cardio to begin with. No. How bad is cardio? And he's going to be. I mean, we'll wait to see the scales, but everything I'm reading is he's going to be at a 20. Yeah, well, that's the ass shaving of the week from Wheezy. So
Buday, yeah.
It's I mean, my ass shaving of the week was Bo Nickel. In case you guys were curious, like it came through.
Never seen a minus 5,000 look like a minus 10,000.
I had, and I'm lucky. I had under 63 seconds in that fight, so it was like a great bet that I hit. I actually hit the under 1.5 at minus 215 when it first came out on DraftKings. Half an hour later, it was minus 450. I've never seen it. I'm like, oh my god, dude! Like nice. Well, minus 215 was like it's money line at that point. But I think Buday wears him out in the first round and gets him out of there with a KO. I mean. Brzeski is just going to be kind of a sitting duck. So I love the under. I love the KO prop for today. I know you said you weren't really keen, but money line I feel is outside of a flash KO in the first minute or two, feels pretty safe. Like I don't think Brzeski has 5-minute cardio. I think he has a full 1 round of cardio. I think he has about 3 minutes of cardio to get it done. And Buday could just from the jump throw him against the cage and be like, "Yep, you're staying here."
Yeah, and that cardio is at 234.5 pounds, which is a very light heavyweight. So if your cardio is that bad at 234.5, imagine if you weighs in heavier than that. I mean, that's like wearing a weight vest at that point. Yeah. So I'm interested. I'm always interested to see where these guys weigh in at, where they move at young heavyweight ages, like 30 years old. Remember like Volkov moved up a pretty significant weight jump. I'm always interested to see if he's going to bulk up anymore. But all right, yeah, we're both on Buday, both pretty confident in this one, and you like that round 2 KO. I like that one. What are the odds in that one?
Let me take a look.
I guess we'll see it. Go to the MMA Engine, subscribe, and watch your show tomorrow. He'll definitely have those out when he does his props to consider and maybe bet the best title for any prop show on YouTube.
I went to the Eric Block School of Naming Things.
Yeah.
Buday round 2 KO. FanDuel, thank you, FanDuel, for always giving us great numbers. They're at plus 700, but I'm seeing a couple of plus 600s up here as well.
Fair enough. Moving on to a, cutting the weight down here.
See, Mushroom knows.
Yeah, Mushroom does know. Moving down to less than half of the weight to those guys, to Angela Hill versus Godinez. A catchweight bout at 120, both, straw weights here. But since this got moved up in the schedule a little bit, they gave him the 5-pound allowance. So, what can you say? Angela Hill is the most veteran woman at this weight class. She's 13-12, an abysmal record, but she's had 20 fights in the UFC, going 8-12. 37 years old at this point. She took her break early on to go to Invicta, win the championship, come right back to the UFC. And, now she's got a negative decision record as well, going like 8-10 in decisions. So even at this weight class, no finishing power, sketchy in decisions. She's on a 3-loss streak now as well at this age. So a lot of stuff outside of the cage she does as well. Godinez, opposite trajectory entirely. She's had 5 UFC fights, 3-2 in those. A sketchy split decision over Jessica Panay, and after that, a Luana Carolina loss up a weight class on like 7 days' notice. So
it was literally a 1 week. It was literally a 1 week.
Yeah, so it was badass that she did that, and I'm sure the UFC likes that she does those types of favors. But it was a ill-advised move. But she's going to be the smaller woman here, height-wise and reach-wise, at 5'2", 61-inch reach. But she's very muscular, very good takedowns, very good clinch work. And pretty good boxing as well. Looks like her stand-up is pretty serviceable as well. That would be the one thing I'd give Angela Hill, right? Her kickboxing at range is always pretty crisp and on point, but no stopping power behind it. So I'm going with LouBetya Godinez. I don't think she should be this big of a favorite, minus 340 or so. It's just very hard to look the part at this weight class, right? It's not like you're going to be destroying somebody in round 1 or, just doing a complete absolute beatdown in round 1 where you would look like a minus 340. This could play out a lot closer. So I know that LouBetya Godinez is a lot of people's lock this week. I am very confident in her to get the job done, but minus 340, I just can't get there myself. What about you? Are you on Angela Hill here? Are you taking the veteran in this bout?
No. And I mean, at some point, Angie Hill's been a gatekeeper for a while, but at some point she's got to win as a gatekeeper. And this is going to be, I'm actually debating playing the round 3 submission here or a round 3 finish for Loopy. The Carolina fight, obviously you can forgive it. Luana Carolina's not awful, but not great. But she's, she just had such a huge size advantage in that fight that Godinez could not get anything going. She couldn't get any takedowns. She couldn't get inside. Nothing she did works. She's not going to have that problem here. Everything I've read about Godinez's training is that she's focused on getting the striking better. She's never going to be a world-class striker, but if her striking is just good enough to make it competitive enough on the feet to get the good entries, she might just need one takedown a round. I mean, I don't know how. I get that Angie Hill's takedown defense is allegedly better. I know statistically it is better, but I think Godinez is a special talent with her top control. Like, she is so strong at this level. So I think it's one takedown a round. That's the end of the round. Give me Godinez decision. I'm not going to get unanimous decision here. I may, but I'm debating a round 3 poke here, man, because that fight against Carnelossi, and Carnelossi and Hill are two different kinds of fighters. I understand that, but Carnelossi was on her back for 15 minutes and just getting absolutely annihilated. You could make a case that Godinez should have won that fight in round 3. They could have stopped it. Godinez could do exactly what she did to Carnelossi here, having all that top control. I really believe it. So to me, I think the round 3 is live. It's not about Hill being durable. It's about you're just eating punches for the whole fight. Like, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I may make the poke on Godinez round 3. I know, like, Mushroom always likes these bets with the, like, on DraftKings. I know they have them with round 3 / decision to try to beef up your bet a little bit. I don't mind those. I don't mind that here, but the round 3 poke is it's curious to say the least. I'm looking up what it is for her.
Yeah, I think the same prop. If I had to throw out a prop, it would be the same thing. I wrote down decision -155, LouBetya Godinez. Because you can at least chop down. This is not like the other women's fight we talked about where it's like their decision prop is going to be very close to their money line. This is chopping down a -300 and more price tag on Godinez and making it -155. I mean,
her sub prop in round 3 is +2,800 and her KO prop is +3,000. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at this wrong. Her submission prop is 2,800. Her KO prop in round 3 on FanDuel is +4,700.
Jesus.
I don't see a here. I still got Betway up. Let me just see if.
Yeah, it fits. Even taking her by decision fits the narrative for Angela Hill here.
Round 3 is +1,600, and yeah, I don't like this other one. Round 3 or decisions -185, but the round 3 is as a small poke. I think that she can do what she did to Carnelossi here. So
yeah, I don't think she's going to be getting up out of the positions. Like, if she basically like tries to turn into side control and like try to get up on her side to stand up, it's not a very good takedown, like get up game from some of these stronger women like LouBetya Godinez. It's just never been there. She couldn't get up. As soon as Jandiroba trapped her leg, she was kind of just trapped there for the majority of each round. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. She can wear her down. Angela Hill known to slow down. So if Godinez just crowds the kicker here and just gets in close range, I think she wins this fight. But yeah, it's a money line play, not a lot of extra value at all on Godinez, but you can maybe transform that with a decision play or get crazy, sprinkle a tenth of a unit on those round 3 props that Lou's talking about.
Don't say sprinkle 3 times or Gianni's going to show up on the stream if you keep saying sprinkle.
Hey, Gianni the GOAT, man. Those over 1.5s on the heavyweight fights in the contender series.
You know what I love? You know what I love for this fight, Pat? You know what I love for the Loopy fight? Over 1.5. Love it.
I don't know, the regression to the mean that he's always talking about. Maybe it's time for under 1.5s in this fight. But moving on to an exciting one here.
I was ruthless last night.
You were calling him out. Moving on to, this is an interesting one for sure at middleweight. Bruno Silva taking on GM3, Gerald Meerschaert. Bruno Silva, is he sitting around like a -300 favorite at this point? -285, -300.
Yes, sir.
Plus 240, plus 250, the underdog price on Gerald Meerschaert. I'm taking the dog shot here. I'm taking the dog shot on Gerald Meerschaert. I'm not saying you should bet this at a high clip. I'm just not betting the -300 on Silva. I'm just not getting in the way of the comeback train that is Gerald Meerschaert. This is the second fight where I parlayed the fight doesn't go to decision, Ontiveros and Benitez. I parlayed that fight doesn't go with this fight doesn't go. So I actually got like -155 odds on that combined parlay. So through 1.55 units on that to win one. I think it's pretty good. Gerald Meerschaert, 26 subs, 6 knockouts. Out of 49 fights, only 6 have gone to the scorecards. Same with Bruno Silva here. Out of 29 fights, only 4 of Silva's have seen the scorecards too. So I'm taking fight doesn't go as a parlay piece here. linking it to another fight. But yeah, Gerald Meerschaert is game, and I wouldn't mind even sprinkling on his submission prop here. What I like about Gerald Meerschaert is he's finally at this point in his career. He's had 16 UFC fights, and he's finally changed camps to a bigger room. He's down at Killcliff FC, formerly known as Sanford MMA. He's working with really big guys like Gregory Rodriguez, who's doing very well. Guys like Mason Jones, Impa Kasagane, some guys from One Fighting Championship. So he's getting some working with some better guys now, taking this fight camp very seriously. And he's a potent finisher. So I think if he can survive round 1 and then maybe start engaging the grappling in round 2 and 3, I think he actually could pose some problems against Bruno Silva, who's been taken down and controlled by Sanchez and things like that. But obviously he's very hittable on the feet early. Early and often you can hit Gerald Meerschaert. If he stands with you at kickboxing range, you can probably land on the target here. So is it a little bit overplayed that his chin is super weak? It might be. He was KO'd by Ian Heinisch a while back. Thiago Santos in a ground and pound sequence, and then also, Khamzat Chimaev. So he's hittable, but is he getting put out by like everybody? Not really. He's not like the way I see people talking about Gerald Meerschaert. They're talking about him like he's the 185 version of Jason Witt. I don't think that's the case. And he's a very crafty southpaw kickboxer as well. Not many finishes, but they do set up his entries into the takedowns, and he can also just pull guillotine as well if he wants to. So Bruno Silva, very scary power though. I just don't think it's minus 300 worthy for me to bet on. You could get that inside the distance at, what am I looking at here? Bruno Silva by knockout, minus 165 I saw. But, I think decision might be a sneaky look here too for Bruno Silva. Gerald's not going to win a decision most likely. He never has in the UFC. But if he survives and his chin isn't as bad as it's played out to be, you're looking at like plus 400 and then some for the decision prop for Silva. But, just as a crystal ball prediction, I would take the stab on Meerschaert by sub, especially if you want to get crazy and sprinkle in that round 3 submission too later in the fight. What do you think, Lou?
I mean, if it's a GM3 fight or a Darren Elkins fight, round 3 bet it's like a must bet. I have concerns on the Silva side, and I talked about how I think Quinlan is a slow starter before. Yeah, I saw that comment too. Bruno Silva, you want to talk about a guy who is a slow starter? Like Bruno Silva is the epitome of slow starter. He started out really badly against Wellington Turman. He was going to lose the fight against Andrew Sanchez. He was losing that fight 2 rounds to nothing. This guy is like, and he relies on his power so much to get him out of trouble. Now, could that happen here? I guess, but we're talking about GM3's chin. Murdoch was like kicking his ass, and he came back from that too. So I think the claims of his chin being compromised are overrated. I do think Silva has terrifying power here. I think fight doesn't go it feels pretty safe, but look, except for last week, every week we're getting one of these absolutely like juiced fight doesn't go in a decision, like Curtis Vieira, like Bruno Silva and Pereira. Like his last fight, like
right. That was supposed to be like an instant, knockout. Like they're just gonna meet in the center of the cage and just go at it, like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. It did not play out that way.
So I'm gonna wait and see on this line because I'm curious as to the movement. So Silva has gotten steamed a lot, and I want to see if there's going to be buyback on it because I feel like at almost minus 300 at some point, people are going to start really taking the dog shot here. So the pick is Silva, but this may become. And if you're going to bet GM3, you bet him by submission. That's his money line. That's like you said,
and I saw it north of plus 500 on some books. I think it's since moved down to like plus 450 and maybe even lower than that. But I got on that plus like 515. I think it was on Bovada earlier.
Yeah, so you're getting his submission. I'm still seeing it at plus 500 on a lot of my books.
Okay, good.
I think that's his money line in essence.
Certainly, yeah.
So you're getting plus 500 against a guy who just knows how to eke out these vet wins. And, Silva was on the ground against Turman. He was on the ground against Sanchez. The Silva Pereira fight, had no real chance to get into the ground. I know people were betting Silva submission, which was an interesting way to play it. But he's been on the ground in almost every fight. This is not the guy you want to be on the ground with. So, I'm probably going to take the dog shot here at the submission prop. I'm gonna cover it with like I'll probably do like fight doesn't go as like, that's gonna be like one of my BS plays. Like I'll just pad something with that. But
Yep.
I think the sub is incredibly live here because Silva is always ends up on the ground for minutes in these fights. Just how long does GM3 need to win that fight if it's on the ground? 5 seconds?
Yeah, it's not very long. I mean, he can get caught fishing around for things. And what scares me about, to play against my pick here, what scares me about Bruno Silva is that, like, when he was on the ground against, who was it now? Wellington Turman, he basically just had like he was in his full guard and just was able to just hit him with a couple of shots and put him completely out cold. Eyes roll back to the back of his head.
Turman's awful.
Yeah. But it was like in his guard. So he was like, maybe I'll just, try to grab your wrist to get some wrist control. And it's like, it just got bonked instantly. So that scares me a bit. But yeah, Gerald Meerschaert is really good at locking up and really playing jiu-jitsu at the high level and like chaining things, making you think he's going to do one thing when really he's setting up 3 moves ahead. He's one of those guys on the ground off of his back even. So
I think he's durable enough to withstand at least a couple of shots on the ground. I'm not saying an extreme amount, but like we've seen him. The Murdaugh fight is just, I mean, if you go back and watch that one, and I know you have, I mean, you could have stopped that fight. That could have been a fight that could have been stopped very easily. But GM3 never looked, as much as he was eating shots, he never really looked fully compromised to me. He was alert, he was moving, he was defending. He was just, Murdaugh was getting through all his defense, but he was still intelligently defending. So Silva, I think Silva has more power. I don't even know if that's debatable, but I think GM3 could do enough of a job staying out of trouble on the ground to wrap some bullshit up here. I mean, like, and at plus 550, it's plus 550 with a guy with his veteran experience. I think it's worth it.
And Meerschaert is like the Charles Oliveira of this division. I mean, he's the leader in submissions at middleweight. He's actually tied to be the leader of finishes at middleweight, which is really shocking. He's been in the UFC since late 2016, and he's had 16 fights now. So I just think he's on that level. And I think to get a price on, like you said, this is his money line is at plus 500 and then some by submission. So I like that a lot, and that's why I'm taking that dog shot there. But I don't hate anybody for playing this inside the distance on either side, especially the Silva side. But moving on to another fight, this is one that I really want your opinion on. And we talked about this briefly, but this is Azamat Murzakanov at 205 taking on Devin Clark. And this is an absolute, clash of two guys here where it's like one's got one UFC fight in Murzakanov, who's off the Dana White Contender Series. A crazy, crazy power in his hands for, a Russian you would think he's going to wrestle. He's really a stand-up guy, knockout artist, hits you with really sharp, accurate punches up close and just puts you out. He knocked out Andre Nunes back in the day as well, overseas. Devin Clark is a guy who, again, kind of like Gerald Meerschaert, has had many more UFC fights than you would think. He's had 13 of them, gone 7-6, and hanging at the high level. Out of those 6 losses, 4 of them are to top 205ers for Devin Clark. Yet he is at the height of it, he was plus 145 in the money line. It's since moved back down a little bit. I think money has come back in. He's like plus 125 for Devin Clark. Azamat Murzakanov in his second appearance in the octagon is minus 145. He's got one knockout in the UFC that was in his last fight for Devin Clark over William Knight, up a weight class at heavyweight. So he proved, he does have some knockout power. He can take advantage of a compromised fighter in the later rounds of the fight. But mostly a wrestler for Devin Clark. He wants to get this fight to the ground. And we're pretty much banking on, does Murzakanov not have takedown defense? Because we haven't really seen it. I don't think I've seen it in a lot of his tape. He hasn't really had to battle against guys that are offensive wrestlers like Devin Clark. I'm picking as a prediction the dog shot of Devin Clark here. I just have not been talked into a bet on it yet. And now that I've missed the highest peak of the underdog price, should I still be taking a dog shot at plus 125? Or should I take a decision prop? How should I play Devin Clark? Or should I just stay off of this completely?
Well, if you're going to play Clark, I'd play the decision, to be honest. Okay. But I am on the other side of this one. And I initially was on the Clark side. I think you and I talked like Sunday or Monday about this. And I liked the Clark side. And apparently the public does too. The more I looked into the tape, it's that my problem with Clark is that, he's only been, he has one fight where he didn't get finished. And that was the fight he probably took the biggest beating out of all of them was the Kutayaba fight. The guys he's beating, William Knight, death-gassed in that fight, but William Knight won that first round fairly easily. Okay? So and I know it was up at heavyweight, and I know William Knight just can't figure out like what weight class he wants to be in, but I think that William Knight just absolutely steamrolled him. Alonzo Menafield, really low volume, like he's so confusing because I feel like Menafield does have potential, but like his fight IQ is awful. I'm not impressed with anything Devin Clark's like, and the losses are losses, but I'm thinking like in my head, I'm like, he's so durable because Kutiyaba couldn't put him away, but realistically, the fight should have been stopped. I don't know how great I feel about Murzakanov. I think he came out really slow. He was kind of mediocre against Tafon. And you know, the way that Tafon's last fight went, that win's not going to age well. The fact that Olberg got him out of there in like 9 seconds. But I'm leaning Murzakanov KO at plus 140. I don't think it's a great price. But again, if you wanted to say the Kutiyaba fight should have been stopped, then Clark's been finished in all of his losses. And that's the context of it. And Murzakanov does hit hard enough. His knees are good. Can he stay off the ground? I don't think he's certainly, and like Murzakanov's best win is better than any win that Clark's had against Andre Muniz. I know it was a while ago, but that's probably that's a better win than anything Devin Clark has. So I think the level of competition's fair, not as much as, I mean, lean Clark, but it's not like drastic. And I think the skill set on the feet is 100% Murzakanov. And on the ground, I think he's competitive. His cardio looked okay against Tafon. So because of that, I'm leaning Murzakanov. I honestly may not even play the prop here at minus 125 for his money line. If it keeps moving, I'm just not going to get greedy with it. 125 is a fine, or it's 145. I'm sorry. I mean, if it keeps moving, at what number does it become like a smash spot for a guy that at least hasn't shown any issues with durability? So I'm leaning Murzakanov. Right, I don't know if I'll get to the KO prop.
I'm liking it's just this is a matter of I get an underdog price on somebody who's had 13 UFC fights, and we've seen kind of where his ceiling is at, and it's at least hanging with, not beating all of the top guys, but at least hanging with them. And he's got pretty good wrestling. He changed camps too. I'm not always a guy who like considers, all the camp changes and things like that, but he is training with Curtis Blades now. I know his Tapology says he's with Mike Winklejohn in Albuquerque. I think he's had a couple camps now at Elevation with Curtis Blades. So wrestle heavy training partners and things like that. He just signed a new contract after that knockout over William Knight. But yeah, Azamat Murzakanov has got scary knockout power, and that was my hesitation with betting the underdog on Clark. Is you see shots that like Azamat Murzakanov hits guys with, and you're like, it doesn't even look like that hard of a punch, and he's got that death touch. They go down instantly. So okay, you're not talking me onto this one, so I'm not going to bet it. So this has been productive in that.
I mean, but if you're on the Clark side, I think the decision prop is the way to go.
Plus 240, plus 240.
You get a great price for that. I don't think he wins by finish. I'll put it that way. I think Clark, if he gets top control, can get in shots. I know he finished William Knight. I just don't see him getting a finish here, but I think the price of the decision is, I mean, you're getting twice the price for that as you are Murzakanov KO. So. Right. I get the Clark decision prop here.
Yeah. I mean, we're betting a guy with one UFC fight, 11-0 record, which is really bumping up the favorite price on that. If he had like a couple losses on the regional scene, even, I think that would be more of a pick 'em price tag. Don't you think? I mean, the bookmakers really seem to like that shiny, undefeated, flawless record.
Yeah. Contender Series toys.
Yeah, exactly. So. Speaking of, people with not a whole lot of UFC experience, moving on to a women's strawweight bout here between Yasmin versus Yasmin. Yasmin Jauregui from Mexico versus Yasmin Lucindo from Brazil. A wide money line for two chicks that have not been in the UFC at all. This is both of their first time. Yasmin Lucindo, the underdog at plus 180. Yasmin Jauregui at minus 210. And they are, Jauregui was going to fight, I believe, like Estela Nunes or something like that. But, now Yasmin Lucindo on short notice. Also aiding in her being the underdog here. I was able to watch limited tape on these two girls. I think a lot of people were, but I watched everything that I possibly could find. And I like Yasmin Jauregui's stand-up ability. Kickboxing, very good, complete mixed martial artist. Haven't seen, kind of like the Murzakanov fight we just talked about, haven't seen her defensive wrestling or her having to fight up off of her back very much, if at all. But she was able to work off the cage pretty well, circle off the cage, show some sort of strength in the clinch position. Yasmin Lucindo from Brazil, very good. She just wants to get this taken to the ground. She's pretty low output at kickboxing range. Only 20 years old for Lucindo and 23 for Jauregui. So let me mention that too. I mean, these women are very, very young, and we might see entirely different versions of them come Saturday night. But Lucindo, from what I saw, she was very tentative to throw a kickboxing range, pretty much just waiting for her opponent to overswing so she can level change, get it to the ground. And she has employed a lot of very good ground and pound, 7 stoppages by strikes for Yasmin Lucindo, the underdog at 13-4 record. Yasmin Jauregui, the favorite, again, that shiny, undefeated record, 8-0. And she's at least coming off of the Combate regional scene. And, I believe they've got promotions in Mexico and in I think in Florida as well. So, they usually have pretty good regional scene competition there. Probably the better resume for Jauregui, the favorite. 4 TKOs herself, all in round 1. What I like here is the under 2.5 is actually I think it's plus money, I want to say, isn't it? Let me see here. We're looking at
plus 155 on 150 on a lot of books.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. So for a, women's strawweight bout, not a bad look, but I am leaning with Jauregui here to, I don't think she's going to cover that minus 210 price tag. If you're betting on this fight, God be with you. It's 2 women making their debut, and they're both, 23 and under. So you might see entirely different versions of them in this fight. And I think this should be a lot closer on the money line, but I am picking Jauregui. She looks more complete to me. What did you see on this regional scene tape?
Well, same as you, there's not a lot of tape, but it's crazy to think that Lucindo started her career at 15.
Yeah, right. She's been living and breathing this for a long time.
That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, when we were when I was younger, people grew up wanting to play baseball or football. Now we're starting to get the era of people that when they were really young were I want to grow up and be in the UFC. I want to fight professionally.
And they're learning it not back when, we started watching this sport when it was really a young sport, and it still is. But, you had the guys that were like, oh, I'm a judoka. I was in the Olympics. Now I'm here. I was a world champion Taekwondo, fighter. Now I'm in the UFC.
Or you had Tank Abbott, who was right. I love getting in bar fights.
Yeah. Exactly. So now we're seeing people who are, a good guy that was older, but an example of this was Rory McDonald. He started very young, competing, I think at the same age, the mid to late teens. And he was one of the first guys that was learning this as a complete sport together, all parts of mixed martial arts. We're starting to see that. That's a good point.
So from everything that I've put together in this fight, it seems binary. It's either going to be Lucindo taking it to the ground, or it's going to be Jauregui keeping it standing and winning the striking exchanges. The big difference maker for me is it's not even just the level of competition, which I think Jauregui, I've watched some of those combat that I think she's fighting experienced fighters. She's not fighting complete bums. And Lucindo has fought UFC legend Sarah Froda. So, I mean, I suppose that's one of Brady's favorite fighters. So I don't know why, but it's one of Brady's guys. So for me, I think Jauregui can keep the fight standing. I like her power. I like her car. I mean, she throws a lot and she throws a lot of heat, but it doesn't seem like she's one of these people that's just throwing hate into everything. She seems like she can hit pretty hard without launching every shot at her opponent. Her jab stings. I like her boxing. So I like her KO prop here at plus 250 a lot. I think she keeps the fight standing. I think Lucindo, if she continues to fail getting these takedowns, starts to gas. And I think Jauregui late, round 2, round 3 KO is fine. But the KO at plus 250 is a nice play for me. I don't know that I want to do the money line here. This may just be a straight bet on a prop. But I think she could easily, all you worry about is her getting taken down early, and that sets a tone for the fight. If she gets out of the first, and she kept this fight standing, she's going to win a decision.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think the level of competition you touched on for Jauregui is, something to note too. I mean, you watch some of Lucindo's fights, it looks like it's in the basement of a community center somewhere. And
she was opening for Hanato Jr., from the Contenders. No, probably. I mean,
basically,
some of these fights.
It's believable. I thought she might have been. It's the cards are very sketchy. And you could barely find stats on who her opponents were and things like that. But yeah, it's I wouldn't be the most surprised in the world if Lucindo can get the wrestling going and control 2 of these 3 rounds. But from the tape I've seen, it looks like Jauregui's the much more polished fighter. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind your so you're playing into the narrative that the bookies have. This might be a potential finish, but I like your odds on it for sure. It's just hard to trust that at 115. It's always hard to bank on those. I want some juicy plus numbers if it's at straw weight. You know what I mean?
It's bizarre they're even putting this fight on the main card. Like, there's a lot about this that's interesting because these aren't two fighters that have come up through like their, I don't want to say their farm system, but you know what I mean? Like, these aren't two fighters that have had anything to do with the UFC. They're just making their debuts. I mean, it's San Diego, like, so I understand that. Like, from a cultural perspective, I understand it, but they found two fighters that, at least on tape, fight very exciting styles. And I just, everything I've seen from Jauregui, I points to her getting a knockout and like fight of the night, like knockout of the night. Like, I honestly believe she is going to put on a show here.
That makes total sense. I actually forgot that San Diego is right next to TJ, and that's where Jauregui's from. I totally forgot about that. That makes sense why this is on the main card then, for sure.
Well, it's this is I gotta dig deep on a fight where I have like nothing to work.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, there's this narrative, so okay, let's go with it.
Totally looked over that fact, but that's a good look. So I think we're moving all the way into the co-main event. We've gotten through these pretty good. We got 21 live viewers in here, so thanks everybody for stopping by. Appreciate all the support. And moving on to a very good fight. This co-main event, this one is on the main card for a reason, because this is David Onama taking on Nate Landwehr. Nate the Train, the plus, 210 underdog here against David Onama, the minus 250 favorite. Let me double check if those odds have changed.
It's 280 and 235.
Yeah, so minus 280 for Onama, plus 235 for Landwehr. So money coming in on Onama, who was a giant favorite last time out against Garrett Armfield, who's a short notice replacement. This time, David Onama is the short notice replacement. But, he didn't take very much damage in that fight. He had some moments early on, but was able to finish the fight without having to go 3 rounds. So I guess his hands aren't broken. I guess he's good to go once again a month later. And Nate Landwehr, a guy who has a very, very good resume, the M1 Global 145 champion. A lot of hype on this guy coming to the UFC. I was definitely interested in seeing him destroy this division at 145 as well. But, he started getting some bad looks. The Herbert Burns knockout. Juliana Rosa, he comes up like a madman, gets knocked out by him. Other than that, now his last win has actually aged pretty well against Ludovic Klein. That wasn't looking like the best win, but now Ludovic Klein's kind of proving his potential again, even up a weight class in his last fight. And Nate Landwehr was able to come back in round 3 and submit him. So I like Nate Landwehr here. I'm picking David Onama, but it's a guy in David Onama where I think it should be that wide of a money line against Nate Landwehr, who is almost more dangerous the further this fight goes. If David Onama slows down, Nate Landwehr, I think, was going to be in his face the entire time. So I think Onama can dispose of him early. This could be a case where either Landwehr gets his game going, but with his obnoxious forward pressure, he's always on your face, pushing you back against the fence. David Onama could treat him like a punching bag here and just kind of like tee off on him, have very good striking accuracy, land something big and get him out of there. Or Nate Landwehr sticks around and it's trouble in the later rounds of the fight. So I'll let you kick this one off. What do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, but I'm on the Landwehr side here, and I think that a live bet on him after round 1, you're probably going to get plus 600. And if you want to get cute, his submission prop is plus 1,600, which is from a guy that just got a sub. So here's my problem with handicapping this is Onama is the new shiny toy, and I'm not doubting his talent. Like, let me just get that out of the way. But look at his record so far, at least in the UFC. The Mason Jones fight you forgive. He took it on short notice. And, like, it's like this vicious circle in this division. Like, the Mason Jones loss looked all right. And then they were talking about, like, Ludovic Klein. The Ludovic Klein win looked, like, not great. And then Klein goes and beat Jones in England. And now it's like, well, this win. It's so weird how cyclical this can be. But you forgive the short notice loss to Mason Jones, a fight that he was, other than the takedowns, was very competitive in. The Benitez fight, which we had talked about, he got lit up for 3 minutes. Benitez was lighting him up. Like, this needs to be said. Onama won 15 seconds of that fight. Now, he won the fight. He got it done. All power to him. But it wasn't a good look. He was getting beat up at range. He was getting beat up in the, like, it was only once they finally got in the clinch that he started getting his work going. Now, Landwehr, we know what we're getting with Landwehr. Oh, and I don't count the this Garrett Armfield fight as Armfield took it on like a couple days' notice. I will say that I was impressed that he went to the ground and went for the submission. Like that he went against like what we thought he was going to do. Showed a nice wrinkle into his game. I was impressed with that. Landwehr, man, look, the Arosa loss, but Juicy J, that's just kind of like he's so hard to like gauge. Like Landwehr could have won that fight if it went 30 seconds longer. Like Arosa just has so many losses like that and wins like that. It's just a matter of getting caught. And Onama has that kind of power that Arosa does, but Ludovic Klein has that kind of power too, especially with the kicks. He's a little more patient, but Klein definitely has one-shot power. So I think this line is just, it's so wide for a guy that has had, aside from the Mason Jones fight, he's had like, I don't know, hasn't like super impressed me. Like, again, I can't count the Armfield fight, but I wasn't impressed against Mugli. He just didn't look good the first 3 minutes, and he ate way too many shots. And Landwehr, if he starts landing shots like that, he's going to throw him against the cage, and he's going to make it super ugly. He's going to make Onama have to kind of fight in a tight clinch spot where maybe he doesn't want to be. So give me the dog shot on Landwehr here. And I'm, it's not even just a price thing. I think it's crazy mispriced, but I think Landwehr is a guy. This could be a crazy fight in the third round. And Landwehr, if he doesn't get popped early, we've seen the guy in the third round. Like, his fight against Elkins was a perfect example. We've seen Darren Elkins have so many of these fights when in the third round, here comes Elkins. Like, here's Darren Elkins. Well, Landwehr won that round. I mean, Landwehr had more cardio, had more output in the third round than Darren Elkins did, which is very impressive against a guy who we know fights the way Elkins does.
And I like that fight as an example, too, for Nate Landwehr, because it was a case where he had the lowest output in round 1, he had more significant strikes in output in round 2, and then the most in round 3. So he got better and accelerated, as the fight went on. And I love to see that from fighters. That's an amazing quality that you never see.
I don't think his power carries great. Like in the Mason Jones fight, like, and Jones is pretty tough. Like, so don't get me wrong on that. But he'd land like 1 or 2 shots that sounded visually awesome in the third, but Jones barely flinched. I think the later this fight goes, the more Landwehr takes over. But I do like the live betting aspect of this as well. If you want to pad it, if you can get it, if Onama wins the first round, but Landwehr is not hurt, and you're getting plus 500 or better, I take the shot on him right there. I think the third round is going to be terrifying to have that Onama ticket. If he doesn't get him out of there in the first 6-7 minutes, I don't want to be holding the minus 280 ticket on Onama there. So give me Landwehr.
And people are popping him into parlays and things like that, making him a lock because he's close to minus 300. He looked good. The line is almost set, as you mentioned. You implied this. It's like almost set off of like the Garrett Armfield, arm triangle, and then that like 15 punch combination against the fence against Gabriel Benitez.
And let me
it's
add
almost like the line is set based off of those 2 sequences.
I want to add one more thing to this too, is that Landwehr, like his takedown defense is pretty good. Like, I mean, Elkins tried taking him down. Oh, and I know Onama, like, look, he's working with James Krause, so like that's going to be part of the game plan here. Or he is working with Krause, right? Or do I have?
I believe it's like Glory. Yeah.
I think Landwehr can kind of frustrate him too. I think, and if Landwehr wants to go to the ground, he could, but I don't think he will. But Landwehr can kind of make this fight where he wants it. He can make it ugly against the cage and the clinch. I think keep it standing, which I know sounds like a crazy thing to do against the guy with Onama's power, but let's see what Onama's power looks like late second and then the third. We know what Landwehr is going to do. His volume is going to be insane. So, dog shot, baby.
I like it, and you've actually convinced me. I was on the Onama side, and I still am. I think it's a case where we'll see how his striking really is, and if it's that accurate against the guy who's going to present himself and give him targets to do target practice with at kickboxing range. But if he doesn't like that, and he's on his back foot, like I just highlighted the comment from Mr. D, then I think it's totally, once this gets out of round 1, I'm thinking Onama round 1 in my crystal ball. But if that gets out of that, I like your strategy. I like your round between rounds 1 and rounds 2, live bet Nate Landwehr. I'm probably going to try to do that. I'm not a big live better myself. I like to just get drunk during the fights, or
unfortunately I can't right now. But I have to be like Lucy. But
I like to get my work done and then just kind of kick back and let the money pile up. And
I don't give away a lot of DFS tips because I don't play as hardcore as like the Gordos and like.
And I know nothing about it, but I should learn.
But what I'll say is this: on a card where we're talking about so many heavy favorites, you need to throw underdogs into your lineups. You have to balance your salary. I think Landwehr is going to be the guy that not a lot of people own because his floor is if he gets knocked out in a minute, he's going to get you 0 points. But if he wins at his salary, and I think he's like low 7,000s, I'll have to check. He's going to probably win you with you have him in your lineup. You have a chance to win that tournament because of the volume and because of the finishing equity. Even in a decision, he could put up 100 points just because of his volume. So if you are into playing DraftKings lineups, I think he's probably the best dog to have on the card. So, and I think you have to play Zalal or Blackshear as well at those prices. But that's for the experts, the DraftKings experts that I know out there, the Wheezies and the Bradys and of course, my partner on Friday, Monk. That's Monk's world.
Shout out to Monk. Yeah, you got a good team over there. Again, MMA Engine is tearing down the tracks. We just talked about Nate the Train Landwehr. The MMA Engine is tearing down the tracks as well, you guys. It's one of the fastest rising channels I've seen on YouTube in this community. So go subscribe to them if you have not already. If you live under a rock and you're not subscribed to the MMA Engine, great community of people that Lou is the chief of staff of IT there, and he's the prop king as well. I'll give you that. But hey, guys, we got 20 live viewers still sticking with us. Hit that like. I appreciate all of you guys sticking around. And we've made it to the main event of the evening. As I mentioned at the top of this stream, the more I looked at this fight, I was like, holy shit, this is actually one of the best main events of the year.
Yeah.
From a fan perspective. This is, a potential passing of the torch here. Dominick Cruz, 36 years old in 2022, still doing the damn thing at bantamweight. One of the best bantamweights to ever do it. Against Marlon Chito Vera, one of the most potential finishers and the potential, rise to the top. So we've seen this guy learn on the job, most stoppage victories at bantamweight in the UFC with 9 for Marlon Chito Vera. He is a minus 220 favorite here, maybe climbing still. Minus 225, minus 230 for Marlon Chito Vera, plus 195, plus 180 for Dominick Cruz, the former dominant champion at bantamweight. So, we get to see if Dominick Cruz still has it at this age and at this, this level of competition. He's still hanging in there. A fun fact, though, he actually has less combined UFC and WEC appearances than Marlon Chito Vera has UFC fights.
It's crazy to believe that.
It's crazy because I've seen Dominick Cruz fighting since 2006, 2007. He got he's only been stopped 2 times, and one time was in 2007 against Uriah Faber, that famous guillotine he got stopped with. Avenged the loss, but then later on he fought. The last time he headlined the card was a couple of years ago when he got stopped, almost a premature stoppage, but he got TKO'd by Henry Cejudo. His only 2 stoppages. He is 16-1 is Dominick Cruz in decisions. A scary statistic as well, 24-3 overall. And again, 19 fights in the UFC for Marlon Chito Vera, who looks way more promising and talented now than he did back when he began. I wasn't really high on the guy. He didn't really turn my head too much when I saw him debut, but now, 19 fights later, he looks unstoppable. So 5-round cardio was proven in his last fight against Rob Font, and that was the only thing that was really holding me back from really being on the Marlon Vera bandwagon was, can he fight for 5 rounds at this crazy offensive pace that he has? He picks his shots, puts 110% into every strike. Can he go 5 rounds? And he certainly proved he can with a ton of knockdowns against Rob Font. He got outstruck on the numbers officially, but clearly won the fight in a dominating fashion. So Dominick Cruz is going to be tested here. Can Dominick Cruz move as elusively as he has been, the rest of his career? He's on a couple fake knees now, reconstructed knees, 36 years old at bantamweight versus the 29-year-old contender in Marlon Vera. And it's interesting because both guys with this victory, maybe 1 or 2 fights, probably like 1 or 0 fights off of a title shot potentially here. So I'm taking Marlon Vera here. I have played his money line. I paid the 2.2 units to win 1 on the money line. I just think it's a matter of, again, just like his last fight, he proved Chito Vera can get outstruck in the numbers over 5 rounds and still win the fight with effective, powerful striking. And I think Dominick Cruz is just not going to have that same movement that we're used to seeing him have. Back in the day, 10 years ago, it looked like he was in the Matrix against these guys. But this is the biggest guy by far at bantamweight Dominick Cruz has ever fought. I don't think anybody's had a 70.5-inch reach that he's fought. Probably since I think Brian Bowles was the last guy with that crazy reach. That was like a decade ago or more. So he's not used to fighting these big of guys. I think Marlon Vera gets the effective striking off once again. Does he get the finish? I don't know. As I mentioned at the top of this breakdown, only twice has Dominic Cruz been finished. One time was ages ago. One time recently was an early stoppage. He's just very good at rolling and, making shots that should damage him, not really damage him that much. He can really roll off of strikes. I don't know. But if Marlon Vera lands those Shawn Michaels super kicks like he did against Rob Font, I mean, I don't know if he can withstand that. But I'm taking Marlon Vera on the money line. What do you think about this, Lou? What do you think about this main event? Are you excited?
I am, and there's a couple of betting angles on it. So I'm on the Vera side. Let me get that out of the way. This is another fight. I mean, we know how Vera just doesn't win round ones. You're gonna get a good price after round one. I don't think you're gonna get plus money, but I think you might probably get minus 110, minus 120 at that point after he drops first round. You look at Cruz and like you're talking about, the Cejudo stoppage. Okay, it was early, but he was still getting hit. Garbrandt was hitting him. Casey Kenny rocked him in that fight too. Casey Kenny, I'm not saying like had him ready to be finished, but definitely wobbled him. And Munoz wobbled him. So the thing is as he's getting older, and I don't think he has the wear and tear that a lot of guys have, but we talked about who the hell did we talk about that was old? Tyson Nam being old at 125. I mean, Cruz is old for being at this weight class. Again, nothing wrong with you guys that are 37 years old. There is nothing wrong with that. I just think that Vera's going to have, the guys that have troubled Vera, like, look what Aldo did. That fight was, if he didn't drop the first round, like he always does, you saw how good he looked in the second. He looked so good in the second that Aldo decided to literally, and this is a veteran move, to just backpack him. He backpacked him to win the fight because he knew he couldn't. Because if Aldo would have stayed standing in the third round, he would have lost. And I'm like the biggest Aldo guy out there, man. Like Aldo he did a smart move. The thing is I don't see where Cruz. I think at some point he gets hurt. I think this is another perfect example of like a minute winner versus a moment winner. But nothing Cruz does is going to hurt Vera. I just don't see it. And everything Vera does, like the leg kicks are going to get going. I mean, he may not need many shots to wobble him either. So I think Vera gets it done late as far as a round goes. I had round 3 last week with Jamal Hill, and I guess he didn't know that I took round 3. So like, it's like Cody Brundage. He's like, tells me to bet submission, and then he wins by round 1 knockout. And then literally 5 minutes later writes me a Twitter message, sorry for not getting the sub, bro. Like, why don't these guys get the things I ask them to get? Ugly Man Joe, I'm like, round 2, dude, take your time. It pays more. Come on. Anyway.
You know who else, not to get off track of the main event here, but you know who also kind of mentioned pre-fight, and he's usually pretty good about doing what he says, is Gerald Meerschaert said he's not going for it round 1. He's going to try to, start wrestling round 2. So, hey, look at that. Sometimes they do what they're going to say, but sure. he also didn't say he's going to get chinned in round 1. So
right. Well, so I think it's just a matter of time. So instead of just picking one round, I do like those combo plays. I think it was
like the 4-5 decision, like those types of plays.
Well, even a little more than that. I think I had this written down somewhere, but I think it was like plus 700 for the round 3, round 4 combo. Like you get both of those. DraftKings has it. Betway has it. I just think he's going to find the chin. And I mean, I don't know, man. I might be biased here because like I just can't stand Dominic Cruz's personality.
I think you are biased against him. See, I can't stand him either, but at the same time, I still have it in my head from way back 10 years ago and more, 10 to 15 years ago, when he looked like he was on a different level.
But I
had to get that out of my head when I was doing the tape study. So I'm just like, all I remember is Dominic Cruz looking untouchable. And let's just play devil's advocate here, the underdog. Like, how do you think Dominic Cruz wins? Round 1, we'll give him the freebie of round 1 over Marlon Vera. Well, what happens? Is he going to use that figure 8 style of footwork to not get hit? Do you think he's going to be successful at staying out of harm's way from Chito Vera? Because that would give the unpredictable movement to Dominic Cruz.
Right. And we're in the big cage. And we're in the variety of
strikes. Yeah, but the variety of strikes definitely goes to Marlon Vera. He's got more tools. Dominic Cruz kind of can get timed at certain times. Like he uses his head movement to bait in strikes. But at this age, I just don't think he's going to be fast enough to get out of range.
So how does Cruz win? So
what rounds? You're giving him round 1. What other rounds does he win?
Well, I mean, honestly, he could win all 5 rounds. I believe that Cruz can win all 5 rounds. And I'm saying is, for me, his path is, I'm not saying it's simple. It's frustrating Vera. It's that herky-jerky movement. It's staying out of trouble. It's Vera maybe dropping the second round without landing anything significant and then start just going for leg kicks like, from 10 feet away, like just trying to launch shots to get himself back in the fight, where Cruz won't even have to like kind of move too far out of the way. I think Cruz has a path to frustrate him, but I don't think it's Cruz landing like anything heavy. I think it's him darting out of traffic, landing a couple of shots, maybe even just going for a takedown at like the end of the round, trying to kind of secure just minutes. But really, ultimately, if it hits the ground, Vera's very live to sweep him and just beat the shit out of him. And every minute that stays on the feet, Vera, I don't want to say he has the absolute death touch, but his leg kick, I mean, we've seen Cruz get wobbled, but imagine one of those leg kicks gets through and then he doesn't have that movement. If he doesn't have the movement by the end of the second round, he will be a sitting duck. So I think there's a path for Cruz if he frustrates Vera, but I don't see it happening. I do think Vera lands something significant in the second round, and then it's just going to get and I think the crowd. I make Pat laugh all the time. You just got to be funny. If you're funny, you can make him laugh.
Hey,
what's up, fuckers? I'm also, me and him are big Norm Macdonald fans, so I like to hit him with with some nonsense Norm stuff once in a while. Maybe I'll hit you with one at the end. But
yeah, surprise me with it.
But I do like the Vera side here. I mean, and not only that, but if you want to throw them in some parlays, you always have you do have like a good hedge out spot at the end if you really wanted to go away from that. But I just think, and it just seems like a setup fight for Vera, doesn't it? A little bit. Doesn't it seem like a setup fight?
Well, yeah, because what are they're not going to want Dominic Cruz to battle out with the winner of Sean O'Malley, or winner of I don't know. What are they going to do with Dominic Cruz? Like,
is Cormier on commentary for this? Do we have confirmation if Cormier is on commentary?
I don't know about that, but
please tell me he's on commentary.
I want Keith Peterson to be the referee of this fight because Dominic Cruz's big excuse for getting TKO'd.
Oh, that was the Cejudo fight, right? Right.
Yeah, he got TKO'd early, and he claimed that Keith Peterson smelled like cigarettes and alcohol.
The guy who
blamed that on him getting TKO'd. So
the guy who never calls a quick finish, called a quick finish in that fight.
So I really hope Keith Peterson is there, just smoking beforehand, flicks the cigarette to the side of the cage, and goes, "All right, you ready? You ready? Fight!"
If you ever, I mean, did you hear the thing that Cruz said today? He called Cormier the golden fluffer.
No.
He said, just whatever you want him to say, I'll say, call him the golden fluffer.
Oh,
I'm
my God.
Or Cruz called Cormier that. I'm oh, man, fighting words. I mean, he was laughing when he said it.
They go back and forth. It's hilarious.
Oh, he said it's because he doesn't watch any tape. They're like, do you think he watches tape now? He's like, no.
I've seen him. He's shit on Cormier for that before. I've definitely seen that.
Well, he thinks he's unprofessional, but the problem with Cruz is there's ways for Cruz to say it. And
you know who else doesn't watch tape is Yanni the Greek, and he's the most professional guy I know.
Well, he's got he's an outgrowth.
Everybody, I think you're one of these guys. You don't like Yanni the Greek because he says he doesn't watch tape. We watch hours of tape. We spend our lives.
That's not why I don't like
watching tape. And this guy says he doesn't watch tape and he calls fights. Everybody gets mad at him. And then I sit here watching Cynthia Calvillo and Nunes. And of course, I'm sitting there too, like, fuck, man. Maybe Yanni knows something I don't.
I don't want to get into a whole. I don't want to launch into a whole tirade about it. All I'll say is,
I wish you would.
It's
not a good way to end this segment.
If you look at his past, ever since he was at odds.com as a tout, selling picks to both sides, his job was to sell equal equity on picks. He's made a career out of this kind of thing. He hasn't made a career of being a good gambler. He's made a career of being a good salesman. And that's where I don't like, and ESPN's so stupid because they're like, oh, he's our expert. And I even wrote last night, I'm like, Luke's out there. There's tons of dudes in this community that live in Vegas that are actually gamblers that read into the stats, that know it better than him. I mean, the fact that we're all sitting on Twitter, we're like, we know what he's going to bet here. And it's the same explanation. It's like, why does he have the job he has? I don't it's not like people are like, who I'm tuning into here? Johnny. I'm like, oh man, I hope he's on because or I'm not watching tonight.
I'm going to have one of these days, man. I'll get this guy on this stream. I'm going to just snort like 5 Adderall, and I'm just gonna make a bunch of like dumb bets, like overs on heavyweight fights.
And let me tell you something else too.
I can't wait, dude.
Let me tell you something else too. If you were a Russian prostitute and you were on a date with known Russian serial killer Anton Jauregui, aka the Rostov Ripper, and he couldn't get an erection, it was not your lucky day.
Certainly not. Certainly not.
There's your norm for you.
Yeah, I like that. But yeah, okay. So we're at Marlon Vera here. We think Cruz does have a shot, and if he does, it's by decision. You're thinking maybe late rounds for Marlon Vera, or do you think he can get this done inside the distance early? Do you think there's what do you call the odds on that? And how would you line this fight? Do you agree with these odds on the money line or no?
Yeah, it's pretty close. It seemed wide initially, but I just think Vera. I think Vera has an advantage on the ground, which is kind of surprising. He definitely hits harder. I think he has more. I think he has more paths to victory than Cruz. So I think that's, and not only that, but like he's building a lot of momentum. I think the Font win was so impressive. The way he won that fight, that I could see him picking apart Cruz, and I really do think he can hurt his legs early enough in this fight to kill Cruz's one shot with that movement.
That's probably going to be a crucial part of the game plan, but. Yeah, I mean, we've been going for an hour 40 here. We got 24 live viewers. I appreciate you guys. Much love to everybody supporting the show on my second only live stream. Love you guys. You guys are the best subscribers ever. Let's go over our top 3 potential props. So we named pretty much a prop for or more for every single one of these fights. My top 3 are currently it's that Yasmin Jauregui, Lucindo going the distance at slight minus money. I think it's like minus 150 or so on Bovada. For a women's strawweight bout, I don't mind that at all, honestly. Same with the Buday Brzeski, but the opposite direction. The under 2.5 for Buday Brzeski, minus 145. For a heavyweight fight with a guy who we know doesn't have the best gas tank, a 30-pound weight difference, I think somebody gets finished in that fight. It covers the Martin Buday shit in the bed scenario as well. And then I like Benitez by knockout, over Charlie Ontiveros. Pretty much just fading the durability of Charlie Ontiveros there. That's a minus 135 for Benitez, either inside the distance or knockout most likely. So those are my top 3 for this one. Otherwise, I do have my round 3 sprinkle and Cachoeira by round 3 knockout quarter unit play plus 2,000. I do like that one as well. What do you got, Lou? Top 3.
Oh man, I should rank them, I guess. Well, I like Vera KO. It's sitting at almost plus 300. Or plus 300, depending on your book. Actually, sorry, it's plus 340 at some places. I just think that's how Vera gets this done. I like the Lipski Cachoeira fight not to go the distance, which falls in lines with your Cachoeira winning condition. And give me Osborne by decision at plus 215 to win a very clean decision, but not knock out the still pretty durable Tyson Nam. Those are 3+ money bets.
What's the Lipski Cachoeira?
It's down to plus 110, but
that fight doesn't go.
Yeah, they're screwing me so bad from last week when I had it at plus 150.
Right. All right, I like those. Yeah, so I'm still keeping my short form video. I'll do either tomorrow or on Friday, which is best bets and props. Go over my betting slate, what my action is for the fight card, and I'll also include my guest from the stream and put your top 3 props as well. Any last words, Lou? We've gone pretty long here. It's been a lot of fun having you, of course. One of my good friends on this platform and somebody who's always having my back in this MMA community. And I owe a lot of success to you. And a lot of my guests that I'm having early on are guys who had me on their platform early when my channel was very small. So I'm going to reciprocate and have those people on my stream as well. So thanks all of you guys for hanging out. And Lou, just let people know where they can find you.
So LouBetya on Twitter. I'm like not even like in the top 100 sharp cappers of the community, but I am one of the more entertaining ones. So you will never be bored. I'm not a boring Twitter follow, I can assure you. Most of my shows are on the MMA Engine. I do the Thursday prop show, props to consider, and then maybe bet. Friday happy hour at Monk at 5:30 p.m. I'm usually on John Kelly's show, but I do want to pimp a new show that will be in week 2 this week. So MMA is not my primary betting sport in terms of success. My primary betting sport is soccer, or football, as it is for some of you outside of America. And DFS Whisperer and I did our first show last week. I hit every pick but one. they hit some like almost every prize picks things they gave out. We're doing our second show this week. I think it's going to be 4 p.m. Friday. We're going to go live for an hour. I'm going to break down the whole EPL slate, a couple of extra bonus games in Germany because I'm insane. And he's going to give away like tons of prize picks and DK stuff there. So cool show. We're both Manchester United fans. If you hate United, come troll us. Like, we don't care. Like, we're down with that. But it was a good show last week, and hopefully we can make everybody money on what's a really weird soccer card this week in terms of betting equity. And thank you guys for being in chat, man.
Yeah, you guys are the best. Again, I have the MMA Engine. They're under construction website linked below, as well as their YouTube channel, and then LouBetya on Twitter as well. So Lou's really underselling himself. He's one of the sharpest guys in the game. And if you follow him on Twitter, there's a good chance that you get one of these long shot prop parlays, and you could probably retire early off of it. It's usually like plus like, a million odds, and, you can retire early and build generational wealth for not only yourself, but your grandchildren as well. So follow LouBetya on Twitter, and I appreciate all you guys, man. So good luck in all of your betting action. I'll have my best bets and props out either tomorrow or Friday.
The bots attack!
Oh, the bots are here. Let's go,
it took
baby.
Too long.
That means we've made it. So, all right, you guys have a good night, and I'll talk to you next time. Cheers.